Thank you for listening to the BjjBrick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to help you get the most out of your grappling ability and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back, my friends, to the BjjBrick Podcast. This is episode 356. We have an interview today with Keith Krikorian. My name is Byron. I'm here with my buddy Gary. Joe is out this week. We'll hopefully have him back on next week. But Gary, I am really excited about this interview. Keith just released a instructional video, I guess. You can get it for just $2. It's got 50 techniques, and he's just going to run you through a bunch of different things. And I'm sure you'll be able to find one or two things in there that'd be good for you. And with a couple of bucks, it's just more of a small hurdle to get past. And he also has something on BJJ Fanatics as well about mastering the EBI overtime, which is an interesting concept. It's a cool DVD to take a look at as well, because overtime in EBI is back control, and then that spider web, it's like an armbar position, and you got to know how to deal with the overtime rules and escape those positions and control from those positions, all that stuff. Really cool stuff, and I'm happy to have Keith on here today. I want to start the show off with a quote. I'll see what you think about this, Gary. The quote is from Kelly Rudolph. Taking care of yourself makes you stronger for everyone in your life, including you.
You know, I love that quote there by Kelly Rudolph, who's a three-stripe brown belt. Actually, I have no clue. But, that's a great quote, and it kind of reminds me of me and Byron were talking a little bit before the show. But, taking care of yourself makes you stronger for everyone in your life, including you. And right off the bat, the first thing that jumps into my mind is, taking care of myself via eating well, via, exercising. And, that is going to make me a better person, myself a better person. It's probably going to make, stronger for everyone in our lives too. I'm going to be happy. But, one thing me and Byron were talking about a little bit was mental health. And, I think that's one thing that isn't talked about as much. It's kind of a taboo. And, we've had people on the show, talking about suicide and different things like that. And, the mental health is a very important thing. And I was telling Byron, I grew up with a family that, had a lot of depression in it. And, I would be down, I would be anxious. And I was that guy who thought that I needed to fix that myself. And, I tried for many years and I couldn't fix it myself. And, finally my doctor talked me into seeing somebody. And, I started, talking to psychologist, I guess they're called. And, that person really changed my mind. They had me realize that it wasn't my fault. And, they helped me out with some techniques and ways to reduce stress. And my life became exponentially so much better. And not only did my life become better, my wife's life became better, my kids' life became better, my dog's life became better, my friend's life became better, my jiu-jitsu became better, my work became better. All that became better. And I'm a big proponent of mental health, and I'm probably taking this way out, but I just wanted to throw a little bit of mental health out. There's a lot of people who have issues going on, and they need your support, and it'll make everybody better.
I think that's a great way to look at it. Taking care of yourself. You always hear about the guys that would say, "I would do anything for my family. I'd die for them or whatever," and then they treat themselves like garbage. That's you have to also take care of yourself. Like, it's the classic airplane is going down and the oxygen mask come down first. You put your own mask on first, and then you help the person next to you. That's what it is. You can't help anybody if you first need that help. And I think for me, a lot of it is jiu-jitsu really helps me, I think get more joy out of life, not just while I'm on the mats, but throughout the day and even throughout the week. If I go to jiu-jitsu on Monday, I think I'm still pretty good on Tuesday. If I'm at work or something and I can't go train, I think it has a longer term effect than just when I'm on the mat actually smiling and having a good time. So I think that, sometimes we find jiu-jitsu and sometimes it gets taken away from us for whatever, COVID or a work change or whatever the situation might be. But if you found it rewarding, you found it beneficial for you for some reason or another, maybe it's fitness, maybe it's mental health. It could be any number of things. you need to remember that that's important, not just for you, but for everybody in your life.
Yeah. I love that, Byron, how you brought it back on the mat because, I am that way. I have a bad day at work and, I'm a little stressed or I've got stuff running through my mind. I have a deadline coming up and, I'll go out and train. All that just melts away. I don't even think about it. And when I'm done training, I still don't think about it. I'm in such a good mood. Like you said, the next day I'm in such a good mood. And it's not just jiu-jitsu. I love to go mountain bike riding. And I do the same thing. While I'm there, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just having fun. Last night, I got off of work and me and my son played basketball for 2 hours and same thing. And, it's just your little hobbies or, little hobbies, I guess. I'm not calling jiu-jitsu a little hobby because it does a heck of a lot for me. But, it's, you're getting exercise, you're doing better, but it's just not making you better. It's making my wife better. I'm in a better mood instead of coming home and a little stressed about work and, maybe, being short with people. I go out and I exercise and I come back and like you said, Byron, I got a smile on my face. I'm in an incredible mood and, everything
and
just
that's
gets better.
And we record this thing a week or so in advance. So, but as this COVID thing has happened, that's one of the big reasons why I've been adamant about continuing exercising for myself, because I know it's going to help me in my regular life, not just be healthy and feel good, but like actually change my mood and make me a happier person. And I get that with jiu-jitsu, but when jiu-jitsu is taken away from me, I need to still get that fitness. And I've been able to maintain that, and it's not as fun, but it's just as important.
Maintaining that fitness, maintaining that cardio brings me to our life lesson of the week. Last night I just happened to be watching some YouTube videos, and I was watching the cobra and I was watching a black mamba versus a mongoose. And how they talk about the mongooses can kill these cobras, and never seen one against a black mamba before, which is even more deadly than the cobra. At least I think it is. But it was just kind of cool to watch. Not that I wanted to watch somebody die or whatever, but these mongooses are they're immune to a certain amount of venom. If they get bit too many times, sayonara mongoose. But it was kind of cool the way they squared off against each other. The cobra or the mamba, because I watched a couple different videos, would just stand up and try to bite that mongoose as that mongoose got in range. And that mongoose, what their plan was is they are so fast they dart all around, and and they just keep moving in circles and back and forth, and what their goal is, according to the National Geographic guy, is to wear the mongoose or wear the snake out and then attack, and they'll try to break its spine to kill it. And so you just see the mongoose just run in circles and in and out, just speed and having matrix-like moves as that snake would take a shot at it, trying to inject some venom. And it kind of reminded me of jiu-jitsu, especially as you get older like myself. And, Byron, you were just talking about cardio, and I was bringing cardio into this. But, being an older grappler at 53 years old, I find myself going against these young guys. And, man, they are just so fast. It's unbelievable. I felt like I was that snake, and the mongoose is just running circles around me, jumping in and out. And, these young grapplers are just so fast. The cardio is so good. And what I was thinking, the poor snake, and I know the snake doesn't have arms, but, dragging this back on the mat, the one thing that has really helped me against these fast youngsters, these people who can scramble like you want to believe, is closing the distance and getting underhooks, getting overhooks, not being tied up with that person. When I'm tied up with somebody who's much faster than me, I'm taking away their speed. I know these snakes don't have arms, but it's like they almost have to find some way to get in there to stop that thing. Like maybe if you're a python, you can wrap your body around it. But it just made me think about jujitsu, as we get older, we're going to be slower. And I don't think I would have any fun if I was that snake and the mongoose was just running circles around me all the time. So as I've got older, I've really worked hard on developing my wrestling game, developing my clinch game, getting in there and, finding ways to sweep, finding ways to get myself on top. And it was kind of crazy just watching it. Reminded me of doing jujitsu. So that is my life lesson for the week. Don't be the snake. Work and find a way to nullify that mongoose.
Yeah, that's a good one, Gary. I like it. You left out the fact that you were also trying to bite them the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably have better luck with these young guys if I could bite them a little bit. But I think that might be frowned upon.
Yeah, that generally speaking, that is frowned upon. If you're new to this whole jiu-jitsu thing and you're in your first year of grappling, I have an audiobook for you that's a lot like a podcast. It's a little bit longer of a podcast. It's about 2.5 hours long, and it's called Your First Year of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I walk you through all the stuff that you might encounter in that first year, from finding the right gym to your first month, to adapting it to your off-the-mat life, and even doing a tournament if that's something that you want to do. The book is $11.99. There'll be a link to the shop in the show notes. You can check it out there. And the money goes and helps support the podcast. And hopefully the book will go and help support you in your first year. This would be a great time to air our interview with Keith. All right, my friends, I'm happy to bring Keith Krikorian to the BjjBrick Podcast. Keith, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. It's fun watching you grapple and compete under different rule sets. Could you maybe describe yourself and a little bit of your personal history with jiu-jitsu?
Describe myself. I guess I'm 22. I'm in college. I'm a brown belt under Boogie, Richie Martinez. I don't know if you know Boogie. Have you had him on here?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'd be definitely interested in getting him.
He's a great guy. He's really like a father figure to me. Father, brother, freaking, he's an awesome guy. Like, we're like my best friend. Like, he's so cool. But yeah, so I'm a brown belt under him. I'm originally from San Diego. I moved up to Orange County to go to college, and that's where I am right now. I'm about to graduate, hopefully at the end of the spring. I got to see how these next couple of weeks go. Like, we're in like the last 2 weeks, but I think by the time this gets released, I'll be hopefully graduated already. But
yeah,
right now I got like a couple more weeks, so just like finals and stuff. And then with jiu-jitsu, I'm like, I train like a lot. Obviously when things are normal. We're still kind of in quarantine, but normally, I just train a lot and I try to compete as much as I can. I don't like own a gym or teach or anything. But I'm in the gym like a lot, and I try to like help out as much as I can, and help out my training partners with whatever they got coming up, and they do the same for me. And it's good times.
Yeah, Keith, you have an aggressive, submission-oriented style. How else would you describe the way you play jiu-jitsu? Man,
I would say, probably submission-oriented. I try to be attacking, make that my style, because I feel like that's like the guys who I like to watch do that. I don't know, Nicholas Marigali, even like certain guys like in my own weight class, like Ethan Krellinston, John Calistine, the Rotolos. Like I just love watching guys who attack, and I don't like guys who play for points. I don't like guys who, stall positionally or, otherwise. Like, I just don't really, that doesn't really vibe with me. So, I try to be the guy that's like pushing the pace, attacking. And, I want to give someone like fans and stuff, something like fun to watch. I don't want to be like is not fun to watch or like, puts people to sleep or doesn't attract like attention, because if you are like, like no one's going to want to watch you, and no one's going to want to watch jujitsu, you know, because ultimately I think we want more people to watch jujitsu, you know. So if they see you and you're like stalling 2 points, you know, or like riding out 2 points, and it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of point like what was the point to what was the point out there, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that's so you definitely live that, but I think a lot of people say that they want to do that, especially like just people who I would say college students, but you're a college student and competing at a very high level. But like people who have jobs and students and people who do this more as a hobby, they think, yeah, I want to go out there and go for the finish. And it turns up, you know, like you're in a really tough match with somebody who is probably a little bit better than you, and you end up getting 2 points on somebody, and you could slow things down. That's so tempting. Have you ever been tempted or ever had that happen to where you decided, you know what?
I've done it, you know, of course. Like,
yeah,
there are guys that like, I mean, you have to play the game against. But I mean, that's not what I'm like. That's not what I really am saying. Like, I mean, there are guys like who are stallers who submit people every now and then, you know. But like on the whole, like I want to be the guy that's attacking. It's fine if every now and then you have to stall because that's the name of the game. Like there are plenty times that I've been up on points and I just fucking like you know, hold the guy or you know, move back and move away. And that's just sometimes you have to do what you have to do, but that doesn't mean that's who I am. Like that, I mean, that's definitely not indicative of like who I try to be or who I am inherently. So but yeah, I mean, like if a guy is you know, like traditionally a staller and then like happens to submit someone, it doesn't mean they're not like they're gonna go into the next match and stall the guy again, you know?
Yeah. So you have really good escapes, and I think that's a key element for somebody who has an aggressive game, is because it's, I don't know, maybe just it's part of your development as an athlete, or maybe because you have the confidence that if you try this and it doesn't work out, you're going to be able to recover the position.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I tried, like, I didn't like actively try to like put myself in danger, but like when I was like, you know, first coming up, but like it kind of just happened because I was like just chasing stuff a little recklessly. And I mean, like, you know, your technique isn't very good when you're like, you know, blue, purple belt. So you kind of just, you know, you kind of just find yourself, you know, it's like entering, you know, submissions and then like leaving yourself to expose and then getting yourself in trouble. But I mean, I think that like a huge thing is having, you know, like being confident in your submission escapes. And then, I mean, honestly, like that can be the difference between a win or a loss, like just staying tough and not like folding when the going gets rough, you know? Because, you know, if like I was talking about this like recently, if you know, if you're losing a match, you're getting your ass kicked, but you're staying super tough and you're like making the guy work, then sometimes he'll get tired or frustrated or whatever, and you end up winning that match because not because you were better than the guy, but because you were tougher, you know? And so like having, being good at not just escapes, but like being good at staying tough and bottom out or side control is super important. So, I mean, that's more what I tried to do, you know, just be like a tough grappler. And then it's someone that like even the tough guys would have trouble grappling.
Yeah, and I've obviously haven't competed on the stages that you have, but we all have those people at the gym where you just throw a bunch of stuff at them and you're rough on them and you're hard on them and they just don't mind. It's like, man, I'll put in a lot of energy output and they just absorb it.
Yeah.
And if the match were to go on longer or whatever, like it definitely takes a toll on you mentally as well as physically.
Definitely. That's so funny because we all have those training partners that are like, I just can't kill you. Like I can try everything. And then there's times when we do the same thing to someone else, you know, and like, yeah, and we're like, man, this guy's kicking my ass, but I'm not giving him anything, you know? That's so funny. Yeah, that's hilarious. It's funny. I don't even think about that anymore because we're not even like training right now. Like,
we're in a strange time in jiu-jitsu history. I think it'll kind of be a interesting mark on the timeline of jiu-jitsu as far as people's developments. So tell me a little bit about being a student, full-time student. I'm imagining you're 22 and getting ready to graduate. So full-time student, and one of the best grapplers on the planet, really. I mean, ADCC. You've grappled some of the best. Like, what's that like? How do you do that?
Thanks. I wouldn't call myself one of the best grapplers on the
Well,
planet.
I mean, you're in the room. Like, I know you have high goals and high expectations, but like, you're up there. You know, if you, I don't know. So yeah, take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
But you're one of the top in your weight class for sure.
Thank you. But yeah, as far as like being a student, I mean, like I've been a full-time college student for the past 4 years. I didn't take any breaks or anything or any gap years. And I mean, I've been competing like at least, you know, like bi-monthly at the very least for the past, you know, all those 4 years, you know. I mean, this is probably the longest break I've ever taken. And it's only like circumstantial. It's not by choice, you know. I mean, I think that like it just comes down to like ambition, you know, like, you know, if I wasn't as ambitious, I would probably just try to do the school thing, you know, and like maybe take up jujitsu when I got out. But I mean, that's not really, I don't like, why wait? You know, I can do it now. I can at least try. And if I fail, then I fail. Like, but I mean, I'm not going to be the guy that doesn't try because, you know, he's in school. It's been tough because like, I'm not, you know, a very just like naturally good school guy, like student. I mean, I have to work really, really hard at it, probably harder than most guys because I'm not like naturally smart or naturally good at test taking or anything like that. So, I mean, it's a lot of, I mean, I don't want to say it's like harder for me than other people, but it's definitely hard for me.
Yeah.
And
I know exactly what you mean when I experienced the same thing with my wife. It's like she'll read something one time, it'll have numbers in it and people's names, and I'll read it and I'll say, okay, I got it. And then I won't remember any of the numbers. I won't remember any of the names. And she just has it for weeks, if not longer. Like, how do you remember that? She doesn't have to try. It's like, that's gotta be nice.
yeah.
So yeah, I definitely understand the struggle with that, but you're balancing both. That's impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was something that like, I mean, I also I kind of had experience with in high school and wrestling.
Okay.
You know, because you have to, I mean, you're in the middle of like, your like, classes, you know, or in the middle of season, you're like still taking classes every week. And, you know, you know, it might be like the week before state, but you're taking like a, you know, physics final, and like, it's just tough, you know? So I got a lot of experience with that in high school, and I think that I've really taken it to college. And I think that's given me a kind of a leg up too, you know? But I mean, that's like, that's even like a little different because that's only like one season, like 3 months out of the year, whereas like jiu-jitsu is doesn't really have seasons. So like, it's just constant. But I mean, but even still, like, it's just given me a lot of help with that.
If you, and maybe this is a dumb question, but if you weren't going to school, would your body be able to handle more training and more jiu-jitsu, or are you kind of already running at peak capacity in that?
That's a good question. I mean, I definitely train more in the summer, because I mean, I have a lot of time and, you know, I want to, but like, I mean, I think that like the amount that I train now isn't like too little. It's just,
okay.
It's just not as much as I would if I were, if I weren't in school and, you know, if I didn't have other things to do. But I mean, I don't know. I try to limit my training, honestly, because I have a tendency to overtrain. And that I think hurts me a lot more than like, taking days off and stuff. So like, it's been about finding the balance. And like right now I'm obviously not training at all. So like, you know, I feel like I'm going to have some like lost time to make up for a little bit, this summer. We'll see if I start overtraining again, but, but yeah. So, I mean, the biggest thing, like, especially like during school is, just finding that balance, you know, because it can be easy to just focus on one, like just, like, you know, work on this project and skip training, or just train and like totally neglect my homework. But, you know, in general, I try to find a balance.
So your degree is in journalism.
Yeah.
What pushed you towards that?
I just liked it. I mean, I took it in high school and it was a fun class. And I've kind of like, since I was a kid, I've always been passionate about journalism. I mean, I just like, I used to read a lot and I would read about like, journalism through the years and like, specifically how, journalists back in the day, like back in the 1700s, used to like, go onto the battlefield and report on, like battles as they were happening with, a pen and paper in their hand. And I think that's like cool. And I think that not lately, but, over time, like journalism changed and it became a little more clickbaity and not as about seeking the truth, and, I'm like a big, like truth seeker, I guess, or like, I want to tell the truth. Like, I don't want to be like, I don't want to have some hidden agenda where I lie to people or where I'm not being truthful, So like that's always been my my goal. And I mean, who knows what exactly I'll do with journalism. I don't know if I'll even get a job after this because who knows what the market's going to look like. But I mean, I definitely want to at least have that skill. And then just like, communications, it's a communications, or it's in the field of communications. And that's something that I always struggled with was like communicating with people, orally and written. So I tried to like make that, a focus too. And, one of like the classes that you have to take, at least in my college, when you're getting a journalism degree is like public speaking and like all that stuff. And so that really helped me too. Like obviously still working on it, but that was like kind of a big motivation too.
Yeah, it sounds like you had some interest from learning about past journalism, and so you mentioned public speaking. Have you done like I guess I really can't think of anybody that I really know that has a major in journalism. What do you like? Have big projects where you go and you cover some sort of a topic and you talk to people and you investigate it, or am I just making up an idea of what a class would be like?
That's not what a public speaking class is.
No, but like a journalism class.
Oh, journalism. Well, it depends. I mean, I'm like you do have to cover events and you have to talk to people and you have to interview people, like random people that you don't know. And I mean, that's a huge part of public speaking, even though it's not to a large group, it's to the public. So that's like a really big part of it. And that's like the part that I hate the most, honestly. But it's something that I want to get really good at. So I'm like, I'm kind of, I'm taking that as an opportunity to grow. But that's like pretty much in all my journalism classes. That's what I have to do at some point. Like some you have to write more than others. Like I have a sports journalism class and then like a public affairs and civics journalism class. So like those, I only have to write a couple stories, a semester. And then there's one class where I write for the daily paper at my school, and that I have to write like every day. So I have to talk to people constantly, and that's definitely tough, but I mean, it's cool.
It seems like a lot of journalists nowadays are freelance to where they don't really work for something. They just kind of work for themselves, and they find a story and they push it to somebody and they sell it. Is that something you'd be interested in, or you'd rather work for a organization? I
mean, maybe if I wasn't like, let's say that I had like, let's say I didn't have a job and like I was like training for like a big jiu-jitsu event or something, and I needed like something to do in my downtime, and I pursue this story, I pursue something, and like maybe I just want to put it out there, then I do that. But like if I were looking for a career, I wouldn't just freelance. But I also like I haven't talked to too many freelance journalists, so I would be willing to like hear what they have to say about it, because I also don't want to be, part of some, greater agenda like, CNN or Fox News. I don't want what I write to be altered or rejected based on the like what I believe to be the truth. Like I think a lot of times, no like disrespect to anyone who writes for those sites or for those networks, but like, I mean, it's pretty biased a lot of times, and that's only because of the people at the top and who's in their ear. And like I would like an opportunity to freelance, if only to just have my own voice. But like, obviously like a steady paycheck is better than like
yeah,
that's the thing too. But I don't know. I'm honestly not super motivated by money. I think that's like, at least now when I don't have like kids and a family and stuff to take care of. But I mean, that's probably like something I'd think about.
Is there a thought in your mind about journalism / jujitsu and combining your two passions and covering jujitsu people or the sport with journalism or maybe
I'd
MMA?
love to. I know there's a lot of sites out there and stuff. I'd love to. But I mean, I'm not like I wouldn't bank on that, A lot of times, especially in a field like that, like journalism, you have to go where you're called or where people want you to be. You can't just like hold out for the ideal job. So I would be open to it, but I wouldn't hang on it.
Yeah. So you mentioned your relationship with Boogie and how important he was. Did you have any college professors that you bonded with? Not quite. I mean, jiu-jitsu is a different level, but like any of them that really helped you or you connected with really well?
Yeah, no, I've definitely had a lot of professors that have like, that have really, maybe I haven't like bonded with per se, or maybe maybe I didn't really want to bond with, but like they pushed me so hard that I ended up kind of bonding with them. Cause I'm in the, I'm in like the honors program at my college, not to like toot my own horn or anything, but like for context, we take a lot of classes like through the honors program, and you have a lot of the same professors because they're just honors professors. And I had like a few teachers in those classes that I had multiple times, and like they got to know me, and they like, I mean, I know a few of them like really, really pushed me to like step out of my comfort zone because they're, I mean, they like, there's like, I've noticed a difference like dealing with just like the average college kid and then dealing with like some of the honor students. Like they're just a little different. Like they're a little weirder. They're a little like not as like well-rounded as humans, they're kind of just students, I guess, and like I had these professors kind of like force me to find a balance. Like, who do I want to be? And like, I can't just be a student, and I can't just be a jiu-jitsu person, and I can't just be, whoever. But they really helped me kind of just figure out who I wanted to be and who I am. And, it was like super challenging, and I kind of like resented them a lot of times for doing that. But, I mean, I think it's helped me. I mean, I'm still working on it, but it's helped me kind of figure out where I'm at and, where I want to be, with myself. But yeah, a lot of professors that have pushed me.
So what about your relationship with Boogie has been so, I guess tell me how that started.
Well, I'd already been training when I met Boogie. My gym kind of got bought out a couple times. Once by, I like started at like just a boxing gym. And so they had like a Gracie program there, and that's like kind of where I started jiu-jitsu. Then they got bought out by like a gym that trained like American jiu-jitsu. And it was like literally called like American Jiu-Jitsu, and I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. This isn't like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's like more like kind of catch wrestling, but not as dumb as catch wrestling. No offense to anyone, but like not like that. But it was cool. And then they got bought out by 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, or I don't know if they got bought out or what happened, but they merged with 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, and that's when Boogie came in. So I was probably like I was either 15 or 16, and I met Boogie, and he instantly, like, I don't know, he's just so cool. Like, he instantly just like told me, like, hey man, come to my 6 a.m. class. Like, I know you're in high school and you have classes, and like I know it's hard because like I was like wrestling at the time. He's like, I know it's hard to like, you know, come in at night because you have your practice and then you got to go to homework and then your parents want to like hang out with you, but like come into my 6 a.m. class and like, you know, I'll show you some of my stuff. And so I would go into his 6 a.m. class pretty much, you know, every day. And I think it might have only been, now it's an everyday class. I think at the time it might have only been 3 days a week. So I would go in and do that. And like, I mean, he was just so cool. Like he treats everyone like family. He makes you feel special. And he like, he just really cares, you know? And like, that's what I noticed. And like, that's what I always look for in my coaches is like guys who cared. I didn't like the guys that were just there for no reason or to like get a paycheck or to like claim some glory or whatever. Like he actually cared. And I noticed that. And it just, you know, it meant the world to me as like a 16-year-old that, you know, previously didn't really like get a whole lot of, you know, like love from coaches. So not to say I didn't go. I've had a lot of great coaches and they've given me a lot of love, but like, you know, he showed me a lot and I really appreciated it. And then we kind of just have like held on to that bond till today. And I mean, he's, like I said, he's like, you know, father figure. He's like a brother. He's like a best friend. He's like, you know, mentor. He's just one of the coolest guys. And so can't say enough good things about Boogie.
If you can make somebody, like I say, you're out doing some story for journalism type of thing, if you could make them feel like you and not in a like a deceitful way, like care about people and make them feel important, make them realize that you're after the truth and you're wanting to get, I think you would develop that a lot with people that you'd be covering into their stories, and you would get far better stories out of people. And I could be wrong, but like that just feels like something you learned from jiu-jitsu, the way he's treating you and making you feel and making you, you know, an important person in his life. And then if you could take that into your other, you know, into journalism, I think that you couldn't go wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think that's something that jiu-jitsu does like on its own, you know, it exposes the truth a lot of times, you know, it exposes how hard you train. Like if you're better than this person, it will pretty much show on the mat, you know. You know, if you've been like slacking off or if you're, you know, if maybe you just had a bad day and you know, you're not feeling too well, like it'll show on the mat and like there's no hiding the truth. And so like that's something huge that jiu-jitsu and just does. And you know, like you said, like, you know, Boogie, you know, showing me compassion and like, you know, caring about me, you know, makes me want to, you know, to do that with other people too. So, I mean, yeah, so definitely those things collided in a really good way.
Keith, when did you decide, or tell me the process of when grappling became very serious for you?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I wrestled, and I was doing jiu-jitsu at the same time, but I was definitely more serious about wrestling. And like, you know, grappling to me was just wrestling. And then jiu-jitsu was like the for fun thing that I did that I really liked and that I had a passion for, but wasn't like competitive with, you know. Just the wrestling was where I got my competitive, like spirit out, I guess. And obviously because you compete like every week in wrestling, you know, you're forced into it. And then it wasn't until probably like like mid purple belt, I guess, that I was like competing a lot and, you know, did really well. And I don't even think, I mean, I don't know. I probably only won like a handful of tournaments at blue belt. I mostly lost for sure. Because like I didn't know how to not just be a wrestler. You know, I was like only trying to wrestle guys, and I didn't really embrace the jiu-jitsu part of that when I was like blue belt. And then like, you know, right before I got my purple, I think I had just started blending like submissions with my wrestling and stuff. And that was when like I really took off. Like I started to see progress in my jiu-jitsu. And yeah, and then I think it, I got my purple belt or whatever, and then it wasn't until like mid purple I started to compete often and really embrace like the same thing that I embraced in wrestling, which is like just get a lot of matches and get better that way. I did the same thing in jiu-jitsu, and like I was just competing a lot and winning, losing, whatever. I would just take it and kind of, obviously it sucked when you lose, and like I hate losing, but like I would take it as like a really good learning experience, and I would use that, and I think I grew a lot through that. And then brown belt is when I started to do a little like more high level, in my eyes, like high level competitions. Started to do like all rule sets and test myself in like EBI rule sets, ADCC rule sets, IBJJF rule sets, and that's when like I started to grow a lot, I think. And then yeah, here I am.
You mentioned losing. How do you deal with a loss?
Oh man, I mean, there's ways you can like deal with it, but I think the biggest thing is like just accepting it, like not like forgetting about it and like blowing it off, but like just knowing that like you can lose sometimes. It's fine. Like everyone loses, and sometimes you lose when you're not supposed to, and sometimes you lose when you were actually better than the person, but you made mistakes and your mental game was off, and your like technique was off, and then happens. It's not the end of the world, but it's something that happens. And the important thing is to just like look at why and like how, like technically how, and then why did that guy beat me? Like what was he doing better than I did? And was there something that I did wrong or different that led to that loss? And then other times, like you might just do everything perfect and the guy's better than you. I don't really, I don't think that can't happen, but yeah, I mean, there's no way to like deny a loss or like get pissy about a close decision or like something like that and grow from that. You got to just accept that like you should have done things different, like and maybe you did everything right and you still lost, but you have to accept that, and you have to look at you have to look at how and why and fix it, and then and then go from there. But yeah, losses happen. They happen to everyone and they suck, but they're a thing.
Yeah, it's crazy if you think about doing a tournament. You're going to face a certain amount of people, and each one of them will bring to you a different problem. Like one of them might be he's going to play top game no matter what. Okay, yeah. One of them will pull guard before you even get a chance to look at him. Like totally different things that are happening, and then the whole blend in between of a different problems people are going to bring you in a match, and just to solve these problems after problem as you go through a bracket, it's really pretty incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
So you also do the absolute division quite a bit. What's the thought process in there, and how do you approach those matches versus a match where you're more evenly matched with size?
Yeah, I mean, I try to do absolute divisions as much as I can. I mean, it's just about like staying true to like myself and like having confidence in myself and like facing like my fears, which is like getting destroyed. I think it's important for maybe not for most guys. Maybe a lot of guys shouldn't do absolute divisions. Maybe their style doesn't really work well with the absolutes, or maybe physically they just can't deal with heavy dudes. But like at least right now I'm in kind of a position where like my body holds up, and like I think that my style works really well against guys in the absolutes and in higher weight classes, so I can do it. But I mean, I don't know, like I like to go into those matches thinking about what I can do. There are sometimes like, I had a match with, I don't know if you know who Tex Johnson is. I had a match with him last year.
Sure, yeah. I saw that match.
Oh, cool. Oh, nice. And Yeah, and basically I was like, I know what he's good at, and I know I can't just give him my leg because my leg is not big enough to sustain a straight ankle from that guy. Like, he would snap it in half, if I didn't tap on time. So I was knowing that I couldn't just engage in a two-sided leg lock battle. Like, I had to make it completely one-sided. So, I made a lot of adjustments in that match that I think helped me. Ultimately, I lost in overtime, which sucked, but I thought that I was doing a lot of the right things. I obviously made a ton of mistakes that I'll never make. Well, can't say that, but that I would, that I've been working on to not make anymore. But I think that I did a pretty good job of figuring out his strong suits and my strong suits, and then, attacking his weaknesses with mine, with my strong suits. But, and then there's other times when a guy's just bigger and better than you, and you just got to go in and stay tough and hope for the best, and and try your hardest. And, maybe the game plan is just that. Maybe it's just just do you and be yourself and look for your openings, and then, try that way. But yeah, like I said, sometimes you're just overmatched. And that's an important thing to face in jiu-jitsu. You can't just always beat up on guys or, cut weight and go against guys smaller than you and, do that. You gotta put yourself out there, and you gotta go against huge guys and stuff. So, yeah, there's a lot of ways to look at absolute divisions, but I think that's, probably one of the things that I try to look at when I go into them.
Are you thinking about an absolute match at all when you're in your division matches?
No, definitely not, because that's the same thing as looking past your opponent,
Yeah.
This year at ADCC, last year, I guess, I had no idea. I was going to sign up for the absolute. Even after I lost my match, I was like, man, that was it. That sucked. All that work for, one match, and that blows. It wasn't even until the next morning that I was like, oh, I can do this absolute division. I get another match, at the very least. Yeah, and then at a 1 day tournament, it's something I just decide that day. I'm not usually signing up for it beforehand or anything, because, same with IBJJF, I don't sometimes, sometimes I just got to focus on my weight, and that's more important to me. Sometimes, and other times I'm like, yeah, because sometimes it's an easier tournament, and you're like, all right, I'm going to do this and the absolute, and I want to win both, But for the most part, if it's a really, really tough division like ADCC, I'm not thinking about entering the absolute.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. So you have a thing you recently put together, 50 techniques. It's a tutorial.
Yeah.
It's $2.
Yeah, $2. Yeah.
What was your I guess your target audience for that? Is it beginners, or is it competitors, or is it?
That's kind of the beauty of it. It's for everyone. It's 50 techniques ranging from beginner to advanced. And they really are for everyone. I worked really hard on it. I put a lot of detail into each move. It's not just I silently show you 50 techniques. Each technique is its own video clip. It's ranging from about a minute and a half to 2.5 minutes, and sometimes 3, where I give you, the technique, detail, multiple angles, multiple examples. And I try to, orally break down everything that I can. And I just wanted to put it out there, to give everyone something that, if you can't afford a $200 BJJ Fanatics DVD, then this is a start. This is something to get your mind thinking about it, because I love BJJ Fanatics. I have a DVD on there, and people buy it, and I really appreciate that. But not everyone can, and we know that, and if you're missing jiu-jitsu right now, but you're on a fixed budget, I want to give you something to watch and look at and study, and and refresh your mind. So because throughout the week, depending on your coach's curriculum, you're going to see like probably like 20 techniques, and I want to give people, 50 is not a whole lot, but I mean it's enough to just get your mind thinking, and that's what I wanted to give people, jiu-jitsu for like the price of, I don't know, a bag of chips or something,
Yeah, and I think there's you're not raking it in with $2 a purchase, but I think there's definitely a value when people buy something.
Yeah.
It means more to them. Like even if it's just a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Like, well, I bought that. I better study it. I better watch it. Versus if it popped up on YouTube and here's Keith teaching 50 techniques.
Yeah,
maybe more people would watch it casually, but less people would take it to the mats and work on it. I would think.
No, I agree, and that's something that I know about myself. When something's free, I mean, I look at it and I love it. Or I love it. I mean, not always, but like, but I study it and I watch it and I like it. But I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to like. It's just it might even just sit there on my computer, like or on my hard drive. Like it's it's not something that I like. I don't know how to say it, but. When I pay for something, I really value it and I really want to get the most out of it. And even $2, like I know that's not a whole lot, but I hope that people value that in a small way, and choose to study it and watch it, a couple times maybe. And that's kind of something that I wanted to do too, because of course I could release it for free, but like I think that people would value it slightly more and even if someone buys it and they get the link and then they share it with other people, at least they see enough value in it to share it, not like if it's free, like you're not going to send a free link to one of your friends, if it's if you don't really love it. So so I hope that people get value out of it, and I hope people like it. And it's just something I wanted to do to give back to everyone, especially during this time that we're all kind of off the mats and the only people training are like, I hate to say it, are like, gym owners and black belts fucking, bringing whoever they want into the gym. It's like, I know it's still happening. I mean, I'm not doing it personally because I just don't believe in that. But like, I know that like that's a thing. And like, if you're a white belt, blue belt, purple belt, and you're getting forgotten about, then, that sucks. And so I wanted to give people, something to, something to watch and think about during this time.
Yeah. Out of all these techniques, and there's a lot, there's 50, which one or two were you really excited about putting on here?
Man, I like sort of like the 10th planet-y, traditionally 10th planet techniques.
Okay.
Like I like the samurai roll, the calf slicer. I like the twister, I like the like banana split. I get excited about those and I really like those, but there are plenty of techniques on there, like, traditional arm triangle, push pull triangle. Like I like those too, because, they're very traditional techniques, but I throw a couple little details in there that I don't think a whole lot of people think about. And I think it'll really up their finishing percentage. And those are something I'm stoked about too. But yeah, because, like sometimes 10 planet techniques aren't taught at every gym, and maybe you don't want to go buy an expensive 10 planet jiu-jitsu instructional. Not to say you shouldn't. I think everyone, should if they can, but sometimes maybe you don't want to. This will just, it'll give you a little something to think about, and then see some 10 planet stuff. And it's really cool. And I think people will like it,
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And a lot of times I'll come out of a seminar and I'll think if I got that one technique, out of this whole seminar I spent 2 hours on, and who knows how much money for $2. If I get one submission or even close one time, that's pretty good. Like so, there's a lot of things that most of these techniques are people will be familiar with, and if he could add a detail on, I'm imagining you're added a lot of detail on a lot of them, but like. A lot of times that's all it is. It's just like a slight difference in the way you're doing something makes a huge difference in the way it performs. And so picking up a few key things, maybe like you have some stuff on the straight ankle lock or a toe hold or an ankle pick. Maybe you like those techniques already, but those are the techniques I would say gravitate towards looking at those on your instructional. Like, okay, I like ankle picks. That's for me personally. I do like ankle picks. I would watch that one almost right away because I want to know more about something that I already like.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
You mentioned BJJ Fanatics, and you have the EBI Overtime Mastery.
Yep.
So the overtime, if people aren't familiar with it, it's a submission-only format, and then so overtime goes, there's no points to go to see who wins, and they'll put you in either back control or a spider web, basically like an armbar that you've got from top. I'm just going to rewind the whole thing a little bit. Why do you think that those are the two positions that have been chosen to be the overtime method?
Well, I mean, they're two submission-oriented positions. If you held someone in side control or mount or, positions like that, they're not like, they're not high percentage submission finishes. Those are point scoring, positions, and in MMA, they're really valuable. And in street fights or whatever, or even like self-defense, those are super valuable positions. But like for sport jiu-jitsu, the most exciting things happen when a guy's, cranking on an armbar or like cranking on someone's neck. So, back and spider web just give you two options to, really play with high percentage finishing positions, something that you may not have gotten to during the match. So I think that, I think they're two really, really cool positions to kind of, force guys into action. I love EBI overtime. It's hard, it's definitely like not an easy thing, but it's exciting. It, is skill based, you're not relying on referees, to give you or a referee, like, subjectively awarding points, sometimes, you're relying on yourself and your own skills. And there's strategy involved in the overtime as well. Like I talk about that on my DVD. Like, sometimes, your guy escaped really fast and, you didn't escape as fast. And now you got to hold on to him for a little longer before you even think about finishing, because if you just go for a finish, he might escape fast again too. And then you're kind of screwed, So, there's a lot involved. It's more than just we start in spider web, we start in the back, that a lot of people think. There's a lot of skill and a lot of strategy involved, and that's what I really love about it too.
So there's definitely a lot of value in those skills, just for grapplers like myself who I'm not going to do ABI. I'm not that caliber, but it's important to know how to hold somebody in back control. It's important to know how to get out of that or how to finish that. And the same thing with the spider web. Those are really good skills to develop. Mm. And I think that pushing that, like putting people there, say, like, I guess it would be like with wrestling, like the referee's position, like people got really good at that because it was going to be part of the match.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't a random thing that happened. So going in that there's a good chance you're going to have somebody on your back. There's a good chance you might be in a spiderweb position. Like, let's train for that specifically.
Yep, definitely.
Do you think most competitors you faced have thought about the overtime and trained for it specifically, or are some of them still not doing that? Oh
man, I mean, I hope they're training for it. It'd be like pretty unwise to just go into an overtime rule set or like an EBI tournament, EBI rules tournament, and not train overtime. Like, I think that's a lot of things that the guys who used to do EBI back in the day, like the top level grapplers, didn't really prepare for the rule set. Like they trained heel hooks and stuff because they thought that like, it's sub only, it's gonna be heel hooks. But it's like a lot of guys would lose because they were unprepared for the EBI overtime. So, I think that's a huge part of it. I hope that guys are studying overtime and buying my DVD and watching it and studying it, because that's only going to make me better. Yeah,
it's just anywhere that you put people to grapple, that's going to push that development in those areas.
Definitely.
And you can't ignore that. I mean, some people think, and it's more at the amateur level, I'm going to go in and tap everybody out right away. It's going to be great. And they're not, like, that's great in theory, but you might have to deal with overtime. You might win by a point. Like, you still got to get to the next round is the main goal.
Yeah, definitely.
If there was another position for overtime, what do you think that would be? What would be a good one?
Yeah, 50-50 would be cool. You just both start in like a parallel 50-50 and see who can heal faster. That'd be sick. But I mean,
and then if somebody got out of it and disengaged and got on top, is that how you would?
I don't know. I don't know. You remember like an organization called Kakuto?
Kakuto. That sounds familiar.
Kakuto Challenge. It was in Florida. Yeah, I don't know, but they were really cool. They had an overtime system that was like, it was like EBI overtime, only you'd keep going. Like I'm pretty sure, I could be totally wrong. I never competed in the rule set, but I always wanted to. Like you would do EBI overtime, you start on the back or maybe something else, I don't even know. And then once you got out, you just keep going to submission. So you'd have really, really long overtimes where guys, are just keep going. I think that was a cool one. Yeah, I don't know how you do it with the 50-50 one. Maybe you do it where they disengage.
Yeah, with the 50-50, that would be an interesting way to see how overtimes would unfold. And I think there's definitely room to experiment with this format. I mean, it's really an interesting one, but throw a little bit of experiments in there and see what happens. It would be kind of fun. Keith, I want to get some advice from you just for the listeners out there. If someone's going to do their first tournament, what advice would you have for them?
Man, I don't know. Like, go in with like no expectations, I guess. Don't be too confident. Don't be too scared. Just like go in and try to like imagine that it's just you in the gym. I know it's hard, but try to do that, because that's really the only way that a white belt or a blue belt doing their first tournament knows jiu-jitsu. They only have done it in the gym, so for the most part. So just try to put yourself back in that situation, and just roll how you normally roll. Yeah, that's probably all I could say. I don't know, there's some like nutrition stuff that I would also advise them. Like don't eat crappy the night or the morning before. Don't cut weight. I mean, I think you shouldn't cut weight for your first tournament, but I think you shouldn't cut weight for your your first like many tournaments. I mean, I don't think you should cut weight until you're like, maybe blue or purple belt, but that's just me. That's just my opinion.
Why is that?
I mean, I don't think cutting weight is important. Like,
okay.
I think that jiu-jitsu is like the whole point of jiu-jitsu is like it works on every size. I think that's like the idea, right? That was something that the Gracies tried to show. So I wouldn't advise people to do it, because it's you can do it without you can win without weight cutting, and like that's something that I found even in wrestling. Like I felt worse when I cut a lot of weight and had to wrestle 5-6 matches a day than when I wouldn't cut weight, and I did way better when I didn't cut weight. So just focus on my skill and let my skill kind of carry me.
And especially as you said really hesitated about a new person cutting weight. So not only are you going to do this thing, with a tournament and go compete against somebody you don't know for the first time, but hey, let's add some more stress onto this and let's cut some weight that you've probably never done. If you've cut weight, if you wrestled all through school and you always cut 10 pounds or whatever, like that's not a big deal. But if you are not used to cutting weight and you decide, I got to cut a few pounds in order to make this lower weight class, you're just adding confusion and stress on your body. That's really not needed.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's, I agree. And plus it takes a lot of the fun out of the process. Like cutting weight is not enjoyable like jiu-jitsu is.
It'll hurt your training. It'll hurt your mindset. Like it is just not, this is not good all the way around.
That's something that I did when I used to compete. And it was, looking back, it was totally a mistake. Like I should just go grapple.
Yeah, exactly.
Full-time student, elite level grappler at the same time. Very impressive feat. Most of us aren't able to pull that off. Just statistically, we can't all be elite grapplers, but like a lot of us have full-time jobs. Maybe we're students. Like stuff is happening in our lives, family stuff, and some people can only train 1 to 3 times a week. That's just the way it is. They're able to train that, but they can't train, is any more than that. What advice do you have for the student that can only make those amount of training sessions?
I'll make the most of that training. Focus. Come in with some goals, I think that's huge. Like maybe today you want to focus on, this half guard sweep you just learned, or maybe you just want to sweat, maybe because you need to get a workout, maybe just like roll, really hard with someone. Maybe you want to learn a new technique and apply it once in training, pay attention to what your coach applies or his coach is teaching, and then try it, in the role or in roles. Come in with some goals, don't just show up and train, because you're not going to get much better if you just are on autopilot,
Yeah. Jiu-jitsu is very active with your mind as well. And if you outsource all that to your coach, you'll learn stuff and you'll improve. But if you come in there and you want to work on that ankle pick, like that's going to happen. You're going to train on that. You're going to develop that way better than if you just kind of, hang out and just do whatever happens. You're going to get your instructional. You're going to watch the technique. You're going to watch some maybe competition footage on ankle picks, and then you're going to get in there. And you know what? Maybe the class is full and everybody starts already on the ground, and maybe everybody starts in back control or something like that.
Yeah.
In the class, I didn't do my ankle picks. Hey, partner, will you partner with this a couple rounds and let me do a few minutes of sand, and I want to work a few things. And then you get to try, like I think that's so important, having that directive or that those goals when you show up. That's great.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, no, I agree.
What frustrated you at the beginning in your jiu-jitsu? I think a lot of people have, you had a background in wrestling as well, but like a lot of people come in and it's hard. Jiu-jitsu is not an easy sport. So what was one of your frustrations, and how did you deal with that?
When I first started, it was just like getting choked with a gi was like a huge thing that pissed me off, because like, I don't know. I think one of the reasons that I really like no gi is because like when I did gi, I thought it was kind of like cheap to like grab someone's clothes. Like I wouldn't even do like lapel chokes or collar grips or sleeve grips or anything, because I didn't want to grab their clothes. I thought that was super cheap. Like, doesn't it kind of feel weird? Like it feels like you're like yanking on someone's hair when you pull their pants, and like, or like pull their, maybe it's not relatable, but for me, like it felt like I was like cheating. And so like I would only do like no gi grips, even in the gi. Like it was super frustrating for me when someone would hold on to my gi or like, like use the gi, against me. Like that just pissed me off. And then like in no gi, like when I started to just only do no gi, it was definitely like leg locks pissed me off because I was so bad at them. And like it was like someone was doing a form of jiu-jitsu that I had never even thought about or heard of. Like no one was like obviously people had taught me leg locks, but they weren't teaching me like the intricacies of heel hooks and stuff. And so I was getting tapped so much with leg locks, and that pissed me off too. But then that's like I just worked on it, and eventually it became one of my strong suits. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So
it definitely a strong suit for you. So how do you? Okay, the leg lock thing is to me is a little more interesting because you've definitely turned something that was a frustration into a strong thing. How did you take on that process? And did you watch competitors? Did you watch instructional? Did you go to your coach? How did you bring something new into your jiu-jitsu?
Honestly, like at first, I just like I don't know. I've never been like a huge study guy. Like, you know, I study a little more now, but like, you know, before I never used to really study any guys. I would watch them and I would probably pick up some stuff, but I wasn't like studying. I wasn't breaking things down. But like, you know, so to get good at leg locks, I just like put myself in leg locks with guys, and I would just try to like see what they're doing. And I had like really, really good leg locking training partners. Like, I don't know. Like a guy in my gym, Ronnie Labella, like he's a freaking monster with leg locks. And like he taught me, you know, pretty much everything I know, maybe not even through words, just like through tapping me a bunch. And, you know, and it wasn't even until like late purple belt that I started to learn the names of positions and like what I was actually doing. Like I would spam outside heel hooks all the time when I was like learning leg locks, but I didn't know it was an outside heel hook. I just thought it was a heel hook, you know? So like he kind of got me up to date with like the like meta techniques and like the like modern systems people were using, but like I didn't know any of that. I just put myself in there and I just like kind of would tap a lot and I would go for it and I would just kind of work through it. You know, that's probably like one of the things I'm more proud of is like, you know, like turning something that I was so bad at to something that, you know, was turned out to be like one of the things I use, you know, a lot now, and I'm really confident with.
Something I noticed with my own jiu-jitsu, and maybe you could, it's not, I wouldn't say it relates to your jiu-jitsu at all, but like maybe you've seen this in the gym or with some teammates as well, is like my leg lock game, it was like an attack, okay, a straight ankle lock or a heel hook, and then either I would get it or they would get out. And a lot of times when I would get it, it wouldn't even be perfect. It would just be enough to where they felt stuck or they felt a little bit of pressure and they were good enough to just, I'm done with that, you know, like. So what I was missing in my leg lock development was what to do next. Like, like how to address your counters and still have you in some sort of a leg entanglement. Like that part of my game, it still is pretty lacking. But like, just like I just do a move, you know, do an armbar, and then okay, you take the armbar, but now the triangle's coming your way. Like I didn't have that for my leg lock game.
Gotcha.
Is that common because people are a little bit cautious of training legs, or maybe they tap way earlier on leg locks than they do with a choke?
Yeah,
is that something that
sure.
you've seen?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, you know, with anything, like you got to learn how to chain things. Like you got to learn how to like make it a longer string of moves than just like, you know, failed armbar to nothing. You know, you want to do failed armbar to triangle, to mount, to, you know, back to the armbar, and then maybe even to the back, you know. Like same with legs. Like you want to go, you know, failed double outside, you know, spin over to saddle, to, you know, work to 50-50, you know, counter their you know, their reap. You know, you want to just do like, you know, you want to like make it a system and get as comfortable, like, you know, flowing, I guess, as you can. Because, you know, if you just know one move, it's helpful, but it's not going to like really save you when you go against a guy who knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Can't drag him into that deep water.
Yep. Nope.
Man, I've had a blast talking with you today, Keith.
Yeah.
What's a good way for somebody to follow you on social media or connect with you?
You can find me on Instagram. It's just my full name, Keith Krikorian. And I'm not like on Facebook much, and I don't usually like accept friend requests. So probably leave me alone on there, I guess. But I'm also I'm on YouTube, just Keith Krikorian, and I have that BJJ Fanatics instructional out. I have my $2 instructional out. You can message me for details on that. It's as easy as just Venmoing me and leaving your email address as the message. Then I will send it to you. You can find me in all those places.
Cool. What could we expect on your YouTube channel?
I post a lot of old matches. I post some techniques and stuff. I am going to start doing breakdowns pretty soon. So, you know, keep an eye out for that. And then I will post some like from promos for instructionals. So, you can check all those out too.
Awesome. Keith, thank you so much for hopping on here with me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
I want to thank Keith for hopping on here with me. Go check out his stuff. You got your option. You can do a $2 instructional, or you can check out the thing on BJJ Fanatics. It's a little bit more. But I really enjoyed connecting with him and getting to know him, and just seeing some of the value that he's bringing to the jiu-jitsu community. And such a talented grappler, and I'm glad he's sharing that with us.
Byron, you just talked about the value he's bringing to the jiu-jitsu community, and just unbelievable that an ADCC vet, somebody as talented as he is, would drop a 50 technique instructional for $2, and giving back to the community. It's just going to make better grapplers, better jiu-jitsu people. For $2, like learning from this guy. It's not like you're learning from me and Byron, which $2 would be cost way too much. But you're learning from an ADCC vet, and $2, and check that out, and then go to BJJ Fanatics and check that out. Check his other one out. So it just made me think about when you said value, and he's bringing value to everybody who trains jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Guys, I want to bring in an article of the week. We have an article from grapplinginsider.com. I'll put a link in the show notes. You can go check it out. We certainly won't cover everything in the article. The article is titled BJJ Rolling versus Drilling. And there are some pretty strong advocates on both sides of this. You got Andre Galvo over there saying drilling is a big thing. And then you got many other people, but the example that they had in here was Kit Dale saying he doesn't drill anymore. But I don't think he just rolls either. So it's kind of just two different training methods, and how they work for you or how they work for the community as a general. Definitely with jiu-jitsu, everything is individual. Sometimes people roll a lot and learn great with that. Sometimes people will pick up more stuff from drilling. Gary, what did you find in the article?
I really liked Andre Galvo, what he was talking about. I like how he said, when you drill, you've got to get to the point where you're going to do it in the way you're going to do it in a fight. He's talking about some people are drilling just to drill. And, and maybe you start out that way and slowly bring the pace up. But, that was one thing that always happened to me when I first started jiu-jitsu is it seemed like I would drill with a very light resisting partner who would drill at, 5%, who would resist at 5%. And man, this thing was easy. Everything worked perfectly. But it seemed like we never ramped it up and we never really went full speed. Because you can drill full speed. People are talking about thinking of drilling as just, hey, we're going slow. But I really like that point Gaval was talking about, drill like you're in a fight. And, but you have to ramp up. You have to get the muscle memory down. You have to learn, get to know, but then start speeding it up, more resistance. And I think that'll really, really take your game to the next level.
Yeah, that's cool. Like the idea that we're going to do, okay, everybody do 20 arm bars. Okay, everybody do 20 sweeps. Okay, everybody do I don't think that's what he's talking about. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And he also talked about having a good partner. Man, that's important.
A good partner is important. And, I like what you were just bringing up about, do 20 of these, do 20 of that. And, it reminds me of Byron, I think we used to call it the old washing machine armbar drill.
Yeah.
And people would just go back and forth from side to side. And, I think it's good to get you, to move your hips. But, when I used to do that way, my armbar from the guard was flat out garbage. I never focused on breaking down the posture. I never focused on, controlling that sleeve. And, once I got to the point, it's like, everybody else is doing the washing machine arm bars. I was like, and getting 50 in, I might only get 8 in, but I'm doing them slow. I'm working on keeping the posture broken down. I'm working on keeping the sleeve, and I got better that way. And but yeah, so I think if you just try to do 50, to say, hey, I did 50 reps, but they're garbage reps, what did you get out of it?
Yeah, you're not going to get arm bars out of it.
Yeah. You might get arm barred.
So the type of drilling he's doing requires, that Andriod is advocating, requires a good and active partner that is not just laying there like a grappling dummy. They are giving you feedback, they're giving you a little bit of resistance, they're making you work, but they're still allowing you to do the drill.
Yeah, I just think that partner is so beneficial to your drilling, to your training. And, I can think of a drill that, I like to do a lot. One of my training partners is, we start side control and, I create some space with frames, come up to an underhook and, come up to a single leg. My opponent starts, with a whizzer, pushes on the head a little bit. He gets to the point where maybe he could sprawl. I go behind, so we're perpendicular. I like this little Kimura out of there that I end up in the T Kimura spot, thanks to John Danaher. I like to drill that. And, I've got one really good training partner that we do it all the time. But it's important to not just, when we're on the ground, he's got to give me a little space so I can get up, But I've had training partners who are trying so hard to hold me down that I can't even move, and we're not really drilling. He's working his top position, and so give me a little bit of space so I can move. I'm going to give you a little bit of space, what you need to do, and we go back and forth, but we're treating it like a real scenario that we're going to have in the match. You're getting ready. You're going to be able to move. These movements are going to just become instantaneous as we keep doing it. And, as we've talked to Daniel Coyle, our myelin gets thicker and our impulses and, just move faster between our neurons. And we just, the more you do it, the more muscle memory it becomes. But that training partner is very important. They need to know how much pressure to put on, how much to give. And, we've all had that wet noodle training partner that just falls over. It's, you got to fight back and a little bit, and just to make it work perfect. And that's an art to be a good training partner. There's a definitely art to it.
Yeah. The article goes on to talk about higher belts, whether they should still be drilling. And it does say that, that there's definitely opportunity for lower belts to drill those, basic armbar, basic sweep, whatever it is that they have no knowledge of. You got to kind of get that into your head or get that into your body, and drilling is a way to do that. But it talks about stop drilling once you kind of get that down and start just training a little bit more intelligently to where you could still have a lower risk approach as far as injury. You're not just flat out rolling all the time, but you are finding ways to train. But I guess the article is really trying to compare rolling versus drilling, and rolling is so fun. That's the problem.
Yeah, rolling is, I would say most people like rolling the most, but I know there's a lot of people like drilling the most, but
I don't think people do. Drilling is just work.
I do think there are some people like drilling more. I've seen some. I don't know if it's due to, a little intimidated about the rolling process. I think some people get that way, and, there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I mean, I love rolling. That's my favorite part. But, the one thing that made me think about this rolling versus drilling, and, I know I've talked about this on the show before, is, I went through a time, it was probably a year, maybe a little longer, where I could only roll one day a week. And during that one time I rolled during the week, I was always so happy just to get on the mat. But what I did, that I didn't do any drilling. I didn't really try to learn anything new. I just rolled. And because that's the fun part. That's what I really like to do. And if I didn't have a lot of time, I knew if people showed me a lot of stuff, I'm not going to have time to drill it. I'm not going to remember it. So I just drilled. But as I was going over this article before we came on the show, I was also thinking of different sports. As most of you guys know who've been listening, basketball was my life up until I was 35 years old and switched over to this sport. And basketball, after you get out of college or high school and you're done playing on your team, you may still play in rec leagues and, you go play pickup ball and stuff like that. But you don't drill. You just play. I started thinking about other sports, as people get in flag football leagues or, stuff like that. They just play. And I was just trying to think of my career in basketball, and it's like, man, I had teams where, I was 30 years old and, we'd go scrimmage, college teams to help them get ready for the season. And we just played. We just played a game. We never, worked on, coming off picks. We never did any of that. We just played. And, I think of that as no drilling. We just went to open mat and just went at it. And, it's just kind of weird when I was thinking about different sports versus, jiu-jitsu where, we're 50 years old and we're still drilling. We're still, learning more stuff. Like I wasn't working on a new way to do a crossover. I wasn't working on a new way to do a step back jump shot. I was, hey, let's get in as many games as possible. Let's run up and down the court. So kind of weird when, I can compare different sports.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation, Gary. I just think that people are doing it because it's more fun to play the game. To me, it's more fun to show up and roll.
Yes.
But there's a huge amount of value to learning new techniques, and sometimes you have to learn those by drilling. Sometimes you have to learn those by situational sparring, which is kind of left out of this article. I thought that's where there was definitely room, kind of that middle ground in between kind of the more mundane or more boring task of just drilling versus it's kind of a weird role.
Yeah, I do think a situational sparring is drilling. So, that's just me. I'm not sure how they're, going on about this one. But, yeah, when I was thinking about it, too, I was thinking about situational sparring includes drilling, but who knows where it was. But I think situational sparring is very, very important. And like you said, it could be a step. It could go from drilling to situational sparring to rolling. It could be a different step. It's just, maybe we're working what we were drilling, but now we're going 100% or, very close to it.
Yeah. I think for me, and I know for a lot of people, situational sparring is the sweet spot. Like it puts you there. It gives you more resistance from your partner, and it really makes you figure out the problems that you're going to run into. Versus the technique where I just do the Kimura to Gary. Now I'm in the position, I have the grip, and Gary gets out of it. Okay, what happened? Let's do it again. Yeah. And Gary gets out of it the same way. Okay, let me talk to Gary a bit. What happened there, Gary? And then he tells me, okay, your leg is in the wrong spot. Okay, put the leg in the right spot. And then Gary finds a different way out of it. And eventually, I'm going to develop a pretty good Kimura here, but it requires me fighting pretty hard because I have to have, if I don't work hard, I'll have problems that aren't real. Like he'll just weasel out of it because my hands were loose or whatever. It's
the best thing you said is you'll have problems that aren't real. And I love what you said there, because if you're not going in that situational sparring, like you said, maybe the hands are loose. They're just coming up because we're drilling and not really going. And it's not a real problem. But situational sparring, let's just go back what I was talking about. I'm popping up from being under side control, trying to sweep. The guy on top's trying to sprawl, put his head in the hole and go behind. Let's just say that. If we're just going slow or whatever, maybe I pop up. I got a garbage, grip on his single leg, where he could very easily just pull that out. And, that's a problem that's not real. Versus, if we're going at it in that situational spot, I'm going to learn what is really going to happen. And, the situational sparring part, me and you, we can roll forever. We can roll for 2 hours. But we may never even get to that spot, or we may only get there once in an hour. But it's a very important spot, and you need to get yourself in those positions. And like, I don't positional spar as much as I probably should, but when I'm working on a spot, I put myself in that position when I'm rolling, even if it means doing the dumbest thing you've ever seen. Like maybe I got top position, and I just roll the guy on top. Not that I'm going to do that, but when I'm rolling and I'm really trying to work on something, I get myself in that position. I've been working on 411 from the back step, and I'll already be passed. I've already passed the person's guard, and I step back into 3/4 guard, so I can, people will be like, what the freak are you doing? And it's like, I'm not necessarily, I still want to work my passing. So I got my pass down, but then I step back into, to that position so I can work on my back step. So, so situational sparring, drilling, I think it's great. And I don't do as much. I'm a big rolling fanatic. But I do totally understand and realize I don't do enough of that.
The thing that you're able to use there, Gary, is that you can get yourself in those positions. And for a lot of people, even if you're not new, like you get matched up with a partner and you can never make that position happen. And
Good point.
That's the problem with skipping the situational sparring. And then once you fail, because you're going to fail, my Kimura that Gary's trying to help me out with is going to fail. And I need to do it more than once, even if I succeed with the darn thing. But so once it fails, I get to redo it. And then situational sparring, let's do this again. Let's work on that. So there's just such a big value to that. But if you roll with Gary and you're able to put yourself in those spots repeatedly, that's great for you to do. But a lot of our newer listeners, they don't want to work mount. They don't get to work mount at all that day. Or maybe just on one person for a few minutes. And so to do situational sparring, I think is great for all levels of training. It's not boring. It's not the mundane armbar. Like it's fun. It feels like rolling, except for once the position resolves, you start over or you switch and let the other person go for a little bit.
You know what the best feeling is you've done situational sparring and you get into a roll and you hit whatever you've been working on. You just feel so comfortable there. And that's just such a good feeling. We talked about, the quote of the week. You just have such a good feeling that it just carries over. Just like your teacher shows a move or a transition or something, and you drill a little bit. Maybe do a little positional sparring. But man, when you hit that, it's so gratifying. It's so gratifying to your instructor. Even when you hit it on me, and it's so gratifying to me, even though I'm the guy who just got tapped out. It's just, I'll have a smile on my face. I'll be like, man, great move. You just hit I always call it the move of the day. And it's neat. And that's how you get better. With what your instructor is working on, and then you go to train, you're going to your live rolling, try to get that in, try to work that. Your instructor's not just showing that, so you'll drill it, maybe positional spar it, and then never put it in your tool bag. Try to make it work. Try to hit it against in a live roll, and it's always neat when you do hit it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know the feeling, Gary. And the feeling is also accompanied by another feeling that this person hasn't spent the time I just did in this position. And I've just worked this Kimura with Gary for 20 minutes or maybe just 10. I did a bunch of attempts with it, and now I've got Ted over here, and I've got his arm in the same position, and it's not Gary, it's a different guy, and he hasn't had this shared experience that I just did, and it's going to be a little easier, or maybe a lot easier. But we'll put a link to the show notes on that one in the show notes to grapplinginsider.com. Check it out, my friends. I want to say that Gary and I are in Wichita, Kansas. If you're in the area or traveling through and want to train with us, and training is up and running, which I don't know because of the coronavirus thing, send us a message. We're happy to meet you guys, whether, I guess, go out to lunch or on the mat, whatever it is. And it's always fun catching up with fans or listeners. And Joe is down there south of Houston.
We definitely don't have fans, Byron.
Some people will listen to us, though.
Yeah.
Joe's got fans. He's south of Houston. He'll be back hopefully next week. I want to quickly mention our Patreon. If you want to support the podcast, you can support on a per episode basis. People donate between $1 to $5 to I think $3 is where I put it. And you basically charge at the end of the month for however many episodes we've made. And I'm at a 5-inch BjjBrick gi patch and a sticker. It's really a token of appreciation for the support that you're giving us. And this podcast is listener supported. And so we definitely appreciate you on there. Next week, we have an interview with Alec Baldwin. I've had him on the show before. ADCC competitor again. I like getting the ADCC competitors on here because they're the best grapplers around. And it's fun catching back up with Alec. He's doing a lot of things. I just recently watched his video that he has about, I retaining your guard, which I think is one of the most important skills to have to make your jiu-jitsu more enjoyable. Because if your guard's getting passed, you're not working on the attacks you want to work on. You're now playing defense. And so if you're able to retain your guard, and don't forget the discomfort part of it. So really enjoyed that. So happy to have him on the show as well. Quickly, I want to mention that we're looking at changing the show a little bit. And I don't know how to really describe it other than doing maybe a few less interviews in a month and doing a few different stories, or trying to find some interesting things and bring to you that as an episode. That being said, if that's the route we go, I don't know if we'll be able to maintain the weekly show that we have been doing for so long, because I think it'll take longer than a week to get out an episode. I was talking with Gary about the show before we started recording, and I think we're both on board, and Joe is as well, about doing our monthly show, that we have a topic, and we just have so much fun recording that. I wouldn't want to lose that, but like the idea of maybe like diving into a topic and getting a few people and doing some short interviews with people and kind of learning something a little bit deeper, and doing that as a type of a show is something that's on the board, and we're considering that. So that's possibly coming up in the next few weeks or a month or so. Changing, we may not have an episode every Monday. We might change it up a little bit, but whatever happens, I think the adaptation would be interesting, and we'll see where we go from there.
Yep, and we should have Joe back next week. He's out this week. He's got really bad case of ringworm. What has been happening is
I thought it was crabs.
No, ringworm.
Okay.
He hasn't washed his microphone, during this COVID situation, and he's spent a lot of time on his mic, and the bad thing is the ringworm's all over his face, all over his lips and that area. So he's sanitized, his microphone. He's been using his defense soap. So hopefully he'll be cleared up next week. And
the odd thing is he has to get it cleared up. Like it's the thing, but he looks a little bit better with it.
Yeah, he definitely looks better. So poor Joe, not here to defend himself.
He cannot defend. That's when you attack, when they can't defend. That's like high mount or getting their arm pinned in back control. Hey, you attack.
Yeah. Joe, just tap out right now.
We'll catch you guys next week. Until then, stay sweaty, my friends.
And don't forget to shower, and don't forget to pick up Keith's instructionals. Train hard, train smart, get better.
We'll see you on the mats, guys.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You can visit our website at BjjBrick.com for more good times. Swing by and like our Facebook page. Our email is bjjbrick@gmail.com.